we are watching every manipulation tactic in 16 minutes. And why are we watching that? Because one of the many benefits of starting an active meditation journey, meaning you don't have to formally meditate, you have to consciously meditate throughout the day. Starting a journey like that makes you bulletproof against manipulators, victims, gaslighters, people who use the mind with ill intent.
Gaslighting. One day you asked your wife if she wanted to go to the beach on Saturday, and she said yes because she's excited to make sandcastles. Friday night came and you asked her to get her bikinis ready, only for her to tell you she never agreed to going to the beach because she hates sand. But you specifically remember her agreeing to the trip. Despite that, she keeps insisting she doesn't like the beach.
Okay, so we all know what gaslighting is. When people are trying to misconstrue reality and then make us question reality. Now, when you meditate, when you realize that this whole reality is a dream state, you're no longer attached to whatever reality is in the first place. If you were to tell me that something occurred that does not align with whatever my perception of reality is, I would be cool. UFOs landed? Cool. They just invented teleportation? Cool. When you no longer take this reality so seriously as your primary perspective, it's no longer that important what really happened. And you are already in a state where you are not really trusting your mind, right? Because we are disidentifying from the mind. We understand there is something more real. You are the consciousness perceiving the mind. And so you are also the consciousness perceiving your senses. So anything that is going on might as well just have been a dream, right? We only know one thing, and that is the fact that we are conscious right now. Now, you can't gaslight someone into thinking that they're not conscious, because who is the consciousness realizing they're not conscious, right? This is the final brick wall that no manipulator is ever going to get to. The one thing that you will always know for sure. So if you just hold on to that and everything else is allowed to be volatile, is allowed to be dreamlike, it's not a big deal if someone tells you that whatever you said is not what you meant or whatever, right? You just stop answering the person's messages and they're no longer in your life.
Someone handing you a bag of guilt and saying, "Here, carry this for me." It's a manipulation tactic where a person tries to make you feel responsible for their unhappiness, discomfort, or even failure.
Okay, guilt tripping, an interesting one. Realize that on a core level, you don't owe anyone anything, and it's always going to be like that. If someone decides to do something for you, it is their decision. And that's a full stop. If someone is doing something with the intention of you having to pay them back in any way, that is not a favor, right? That is just manipulation. That is them using very dirty tactics against you. And why are they doing it? Usually because they want some emotional return on their investment. Now, how would this work in a normal world? Someone is paying you for your emotional investment and then expecting a real honest relationship. That would never work. Again, delete these people from your life. Clean and simple. You don't owe anyone anything. If you decide to do something for other people, don't expect anything in return, and don't expect other people to expect anything in return either. That is just insanity.
Love bombing. Imagine getting flowers today, cake tomorrow, a puppy the next day, and a new car next week, all coming from an admirer who claims you deserve all the love in the world. On the surface, it feels like you're being swept off your feet by a real-life version of a Disney prince. But there's a more calculated motive behind it. That's what happens when you're being love bombed. Love bombing feels like the emotional equivalent of being hit with a fire hose of affection. At first, it feels like you've won the soulmate lottery.
Right, so you have to separate between romantic attachment style love and real love, right? Attachment style love is this fluctuating thing that can turn into its own opposite. So you have to dismiss the idea that this has anything to do with love. When people say love, I assume that they're talking about unconditional, selfless love. This relationship kind of love where you do a lot of good things and then you have a fight and it's normal to have fights and all that crazy shit, that has nothing to do with love. When I see people like that who have that rosy colored look in their eyes, I know that that is going to turn into its opposite whenever their sort of desires are not being fulfilled by me. Right? The moment I stop answering the phone, now suddenly those love puppy eyes are gone and they turn into hateful, the opposite basically of that. So that is not love. So this is just something you plain and simply have to ignore. Again, delete these people from your life. Okay, that's the easiest way. When you see someone who is overly affectionate, realize that they might become your worst enemy the next day. Okay, it's not real. Don't invest anything into people who are irrationally affectionate towards you. Silent treatment.
You think you're on good terms with a friend because things went well the last time you hung out, even though there was a minor disagreement about your preference for pizza, but suddenly that friend goes radio silent and stops communicating. You don't get a single text or call. You don't even get a single like or thumbs up emoji when you post memes. Then you realize you've been given the silent treatment. This manipulation tactic is the emotional equivalent of a passive-aggressive power play, like playing chess with someone who refuses to move their pieces. It can leave you confused, anxious, and desperate for answers, as if you've become invisible. The person giving the silent treatment essentially uses their silence to control or punish you, often after a disagreement or conflict. Silent treatment is a manipulation tactic because it plays on human nature. Most of us are wired to seek connection and validation from others, especially in relationships. When someone withdraws that communication, it triggers a panic that makes you ask yourself, did I do something wrong? Should I apologize? How can I fix this? The silent party holds all the cards and leaves you scrambling to get back into their good graces, often at the expense of your emotional well-being. At first glance, it might not seem as harmful as yelling or name-calling, but the silent treatment can be just as damaging. It creates a power imbalance in relationships where one person controls the flow of communication and the other is left in emotional limbo. Think of it as someone who constantly blocks and unblocks you on Facebook, leaving you powerless in this relationship. Triangulate.
Okay, silent treatment is a tricky one because sometimes people just don't have the time to respond. Okay, sometimes you just don't get a response. I think it should be more normalized than it is right now. You know, the red receipts is one of the worst inventions ever invented, in my opinion. But you have to be okay with being yourself, by yourself. Okay, again, this is something that the present awareness can teach you. Practicing active meditation can teach you this, and you gain a very big satisfaction from just being with yourself. You are okay as you are. You can have a total feeling of wholeness and completeness just by being yourself. So the moment you feel that urge to get someone's validation or approval, or you want someone to answer your messages faster, you can you can look at that and you can see if that is someone you want to interact with in the future, or if it's not working out for you, the response rate. But that's a separate subject, right? The main sort of thing to look at here is, how are you feeling in the process? Are you feeling like you're losing something? Are you feeling like whether they respond or not has any control on your emotions? Because if it does, it's on you, okay? It's your fault. It's not their fault. It's still your fault, because you have to be okay with being by yourself. It has to be your prime time. Your sort of the peak of the day has to be you being by yourself in your own company, because you love yourself so much. And then everything else that goes on around you and other people and whether they respond or not is a secondary thing.
Draw a triangle where the 3 points are 3 people. The point at the top is a manipulator, while the other 2 points at the bottom are you and a third person. Now imagine the lines connecting you to the manipulator are puppet strings. This allows the person at the top to hold emotional power over you and a third person in a situation called triangulation. Imagine you and your friend disagreeing, but instead of talking it out, your friend brings in a third person to stir things up. This third person could be another friend, a coworker, or family member. It's like turning a simple argument into an episode of a reality TV show. By involving them, your friend might twist facts or exaggerate things to make it seem like they're the victim or the one in the right. This creates an imbalance of power because it's not just you and your friend hashing things out. Instead, it's you versus someone with a cheerleading team.
Yeah, so the moment you feel that it's you versus someone, again, delete these people, ghost them, never talk to them again. That is not the way you have conversations. If you feel like a conversation becomes you versus someone else, again, delete the people, okay? They are not your people. They are not your friends. A conversation is, at worst, attacking an idea. And only once you are fully equipped emotionally to do that without being emotionally involved yourself, should you even begin to have conversations. So honestly, don't even talk. Don't even talk about anything else besides the weather unless you are prepared to totally detach yourself emotionally from whatever topic you're speaking about. You have to be totally calm, and even if you end up in a situation where it becomes a verbal fight, and even if it's you versus 5 others or 100 others, it doesn't matter. You should be able to stay emotionally stoic. Otherwise, don't engage in those types of conversations. And once you learn, don't engage with these types of people, okay? Because it's not about the topic, it's not about improving. They're not looking to become better people. They are just looking to assert themselves in a dominant position over you. So they're just crazy.
Imagine spilling milk all over the floor, but instead of owning up to your mistake and saying, "Oops, I messed up," you turn around to your brother and say, "Why did you make me spill the milk?" That's one way projection works. This manipulation tactic is also a psychological defense mechanism, where you take your feelings, thoughts, or behaviors, and instead of owning up to them, you try to attribute them to someone else. You're pointing fingers at everyone around you before looking at a mirror. You're in a psychological game of hot potato, where you toss around your uncomfortable emotions into another person so you don't have to deal with this problem. In relationships, projection can show up in more serious ways. Let's say someone is feeling jealous or insecure. Instead of recognizing that they feel that way, they accuse their partner of jealousy or insecurity. People do this because it's a way of protecting their ego. Owning up to uncomfortable feelings like jealousy, guilt, or anger can make someone feel vulnerable. Instead of facing that vulnerability, projection lets them push those emotions outward. It's like, I'm not the problem, you are. So projection is like a game of emotional dodgeball, where you're throwing your feelings at others, instead of catching them yourself. But sometimes it might be best to play this game solo.
Okay, so your reality is a reflection of your level of consciousness. So if you are in the level of consciousness of jealousy, everything else around you is perceived as jealousy. If you're in fear, you're going to be afraid of everything. If you're in anger, you're going to be angry at everything. If you're in love, you will find a reason to love everything and everyone. So if you have this suspicion that someone is projecting their feelings, ask yourself, what level of consciousness are they in? Where would they be if they were with other people right now, or if they were by themselves? Because you probably don't have anything to do with them. You never do. No one has anything to do with other people's emotions. Your emotions is your own responsibility. If you are in a company and they make you feel bad, it's your fault. It's not their fault, it's your fault. You let them do it to you. So, but what is the default state? What would this person be like right now if I wasn't in the picture and they were just sitting alone in the car maybe? Would their level of consciousness be in the level of love and gratitude about life? Would they be sitting there smiling all by themselves? Probably not. They would be in the exact same paradigm as when they are with you. Again, avoid these people. Very, very simple.
Blame shifting. Blame shifting happens when you avoid responsibility by directing the blame onto someone else. Instead of looking at a mirror, you'd rather blame it on the camera when your selfies come out. So while you protect yourself from getting blamed, you get everyone in trouble. Blame shifting comes into play when you're in a situation where someone suddenly accuses you of something you didn't do. It's like a bad magic trick, where instead of a disappearing...
If people are blaming other people for things, delete them from your life. Quite simple. If it's someone who has a pattern of blaming everyone and everything, it becomes very, very obvious that that is just who they are, that they're just never going to take responsibility. So whenever someone is blaming you or someone else or something else for anything, ask yourself, when does this person take responsibility and accountability for things that happen? Or is there always someone else to blame for the misfortune they experience? And you will find that the blamers always blame. Now, if it's someone who takes full accountability and responsibility for all their failures in life 100% of the time, and then they come out and they say, you know what, I messed up because of the government. That's a one-time off. But if you see a pattern, which you probably will when someone is blaming, because the productive person knows that blaming is simply unproductive, it doesn't make sense. It's a lower state of consciousness, and it lowers your state of consciousness in doing so. Again, delete these people, ignore them if it's a pattern.
Mistake, you can always use the oldest play in the book by pulling out the victim card. Doing so means you're playing the victim in a bad situation where you're the bad guy. This manipulation tactic is the equivalent of wearing the poor me hat, even when you're not the victim, hoping to influence how others treat you. Imagine someone getting caught stealing, but instead of owning up to their mistake, they tell their life story and how they grew up poor. They start focusing.
Yeah, so this is what we normally think of when we think of manipulators. People who play the victim. People who want to pretend like they are this little deer who sprained their ankle and is crying for help and is going to cry until someone comes and helps it. But inside it's smiling. It knows that this is just a facade. This is just a trick. It's not real pain. It's when you use pain and you project it outwards as a way to catfish people into whatever motives you have. And you have to realize this is something that we allow people to do up until the age of 5. Okay, when a kid is 4 years old and it's crying, we can help it. Right. When someone is an adult and is grown up and they are crying for help and they are playing the victim, we have to ignore them. It's our duty to ignore them, because otherwise they're not going to learn that playing the victim, manipulating above the age of 5 is not right. It's not something we want as part of our society. Okay? It's simply disgraceful. It's wrong. They're using this little glitch inside of this matrix that we're using called the vocabulary and language, and they're simply using it with no fucks given for ethics, for moral, for truth. They will just bend and manipulate the language and the words in whatever shape and form works to get what they want. We cannot allow this to happen. Because if the language breaks down, if communication as a whole breaks down in society, society collapses. Okay? Words have to continue holding meaning. If you say that you're going to do something, you will do it. Right? Words have meaning. Truth matters. If it stops mattering, everything stops mattering and everything goes to shit. So we cannot allow victims to exist. Like people who play the victims.
Stonewalling. You're in an argument with someone about something important, but instead of discussing or responding to your arguments, that person goes silent, giving you one-word answers, or completely ignores the topic. You might ask, "Hey, what's going on?" and get a response like, "Nothing," or "I don't want to talk about it." Over time, this can feel like you're talking to a brick wall. That's why this manipulation is called stonewall.
So again, very easy fix for this. Just realize that words matter. If someone says there is no problem, then there is no problem. End of discussion. Okay. Now, if it's your girlfriend or whatever playing cute and I don't have a problem and come on, spit it out, honey. Okay, that's different. You can play this little game if you want to, but the general rule is, if someone says they don't have a problem, they don't have a problem. Respect it and move on.
Mirroring. Mirroring is like someone is trying to be your clone in a sneaky way that you won't immediately recognize. This happens when they mimic your speech patterns, making you think, "Wow, they really get me." The idea is to create a sense of connection and trust, making the other person feel more comfortable. This tactic is rooted in our nature of finding common ground with people. So if you're talking to someone who makes you feel you're talking to your long-lost twin, it makes it easier to form connections. On the other hand, talking to someone who's the complete opposite is like talking to a rock. Imagine talking to someone at a party and you realize this guy is doing the same hand gestures and has the same tone you use. This makes you feel more connected in a way that would...
So this just creeps me the fuck out. Avoid these people if you can.
Eat at an Italian restaurant, and they wanted to go to a French bistro, but instead of resolving the situation, they stop being affectionate, maybe ignore your texts, or give you the silent treatment. It's like they've hit the pause button on love, and you're left wondering if you said something wrong, or if the relationship is on the rocks. This is what happens when someone uses love withdrawal. It's a manipulation tactic where one person in a relationship suddenly goes as cold as frozen pizza to make the other person feel...
Again, if love can be withdrawn, it's not real love. Okay, so you are, if your partner is at any moment withdrawing what you call love from the relationship, even for a split second, they don't love you. They hate you. Okay, they're just using you for whatever, maybe safety, maybe sex, maybe some financial gains. They hate you. Okay, it's a toxic relationship. Get out of it. You see, staying conscious through all of this keeps you satisfied with your own beingness, meaning that something like stonewalling or being ghosted, it doesn't matter anymore. Even someone withdrawing love from you doesn't matter, because you have enough love for yourself and the whole earth, right at your disposal. You don't need someone to love you. So that is taken care of. Being able to see stuff like mirroring, seeing the ego, the unconsciousness in action, becomes very easy, because you start seeing that, this person gets tired of talking. This person, they lose the creative flow suddenly. Well, okay, so that's not real then. They're faking it, right? That becomes obvious, because if you're conscious, if you're just here, you're loving what you do and you're doing what you love every single second of the waking day, you're not lacking energy. And that when you see other people lacking energy, you know that something is wrong. Like there is some this incongruency, right? There is something off. And something like just realizing that this person is not good for you, that you don't want to deal with this person, becomes incredibly easy, because you have nothing to lose. Again, you have everything within you. So you see, when you are in a position where you don't need anyone, no one can manipulate you. You see, the common theme for all these manipulation tactics is that they're holding something that you don't have. Maybe it's love, maybe it's validation. You can't give it to yourself, but they can. That's what you're communicating. Your opinion about me matters more than my opinion about myself. Whether you love me matters more than whether I love myself. See, you make other people more important than yourself. You can ask consciousness, and this is high level stuff, right? Because normally we say that whether you hate yourself or you love yourself, you're in the paradigm of the ego. It's all mind talk. But you as consciousness actually have the innate ability to love yourself, however you are, whatever you are, even if you're changing. You can love yourself for who you are at any given moment. You have that power within you. You don't need other people to love you. It doesn't matter. That alone is going to secure you against manipulation. Now, the second thing you can do is just stay present, and you can actually enjoy it. You can actually start gamifying these things. You know, it's like these Indian scammers who call and they try to scam you, and you can just have a fun chat with them because you know where they're going. When you're in your present awareness and your high level of consciousness, you know exactly where people are going. You know their motives, you know what they want, and you can have fun with it. But that's optional. The best option, I think, is just avoid these people and then look for other people who are self-made. Not self-made millionaires necessarily, but self-made emotionally. They don't need you. Look for people who don't need your validation, who don't need your love, who don't need your approval. All you really need sometimes is just seeing that it's possible, just seeing that, okay, I can actually do it by myself. I don't need other people to love me. It's enough that I love myself. Stay woke, stay present, stay conscious all the time. Notice how your old self is reacting to the tactics of manipulation. For example, playing the victim. Notice how when someone is playing the victim, how your mind is going, oh, poor person. They just need a hug, or they just need some love. Notice how your old self, how your ego is responding like that. If you get caught up in that, you will take action on it. But let it stay as a thought. Observe it. Realize that you're not helping anyone by playing into their manipulation tactics. You're only prolonging their suffering. It's like rewarding the kid every single time they are fake crying. Every single time they're fake crying, they're being rewarded. You create a pattern inside their brain where they believe that manipulation is the way of life. And the only way we can really help people is by ignoring manipulation tactics used against us. Create this empty vacuum around these people and let them realize that this does not always work. And then maybe they will come back around, and who knows, maybe they will be their authentic selves. And now suddenly, the people they were trying to impress before are reacting to them much more positively. Because there's no longer that huge baggage of bullshit with every single inquisition, where you feel like you're not responding to a text, you're responding to 5 tons of trauma every single time. But when you come from your authentic self and people inquire about your life or they text you, you know they're coming from a good place. They're usually adding more to your life than they're taking away. You start noticing these things very easily when you become present. Again, because you're in this state when you have nothing to lose, you have nothing to gain, you are whole and complete as you are. Nothing manipulation works against you, because manipulation works on some type of leverage. Now, what leverage can you hold against someone who has nothing to lose and nothing to gain, and is only present? Right? It just doesn't work. And that person can have free choice of who to engage with. And they will also attract more people, right? So as you become a more conscious person, you will become more magnetic, more attractive. People are gonna want to be around you because you're gonna be that one person in their friend circle who does not need their validation. They will come to you like people go to a retreat where they don't have to be burdened by anyone, or a summer house, or the beach. You become like the beach in your own friend circle. You become the best friends you have, right? So, and now suddenly you have maybe 10 people to choose from, and then one of them is a manipulator. You're not even going to think twice about the manipulator. You see? It's when you come from that scarcity mentality, when it's the only option you have, then the manipulator is the strongest. But even then, even if it's your only option, you have to realize you can be whole and complete as you are. You don't need anyone. You can love yourself just the way you are. You can fully validate yourself. It doesn't matter if your mind says that you're a failure or you're a winner in life. It doesn't matter. You can just love yourself for who you are right now. And that's it. That's really just it. And presence is the shortest way to gain a professor degree in psychology. In a blink of a second, you can learn what the professor in psychology, the professor in philosophy are both trying to get to. The core message of psychology is to learn who you are. The core message of philosophy is also to learn who you are. And who you are is everything that is left when you remove everything that you are not. Everything that can be questioned, you are not. The only thing that cannot be questioned is that you are aware right now. That you exist right now. That's the only thing you cannot question. So knowing that is knowing yourself.